picture this. You're standing in a cave in France. It's pitch black, freezing cold, and you're holding nothing but a torch made of animal fat. You crawl on your stomach through a tunnel so narrow you can barely breathe. And after almost a kilometer of crawling through the dark, find a painting. A perfect, detailed painting of a horse, made 17,000 years ago. No one lived down there. No one could even see it without a torch. So why would anyone go through all that effort just to paint a horse in a place nobody would ever visit? That's the mystery we're solving today. So let's back up. When we say cave paintings, most people picture something like Lascaux in France, or maybe Chauvet Cave. That's the really old one, around 30,000 years old. And when you actually look at these paintings, the first thing that hits you is, they're good. Like genuinely skilled. Shading, movement, perspective. These aren't stick figures. And here's the thing that trips people up. We used to think early humans were basically dumb brutes just trying to survive. Grunting, hitting things with rocks, barely getting by. But if you're spending days crawling into the deepest, darkest, most dangerous part of a cave system just to paint a bison, that's not survival behavior. That's something else. So what was going on in their heads? The oldest explanation, and for a long time the most popular one, is what researchers call hunting magic. The idea is pretty simple. If you paint an animal, maybe you believe you're gaining some kind of power over it, like a rehearsal. You paint the bison, you symbolically hunt it on the wall, and then tomorrow, when you go out for the real hunt, you've already won in your head. It's a nice theory. It kind of makes sense. Athletes today visualize their performance before a big game. Some psychologists think this isn't that different. When researchers actually cataloged what animals show up in these paintings versus what these people were actually eating, based on bones found at their campsites, the numbers don't match. At Lascaux, for example, a huge number of the painted animals are horses and aurochs, but the leftover food bones show they were mostly eating reindeer. So if this was about hunting magic, they were painting the wrong animals. That doesn't kill the theory completely, but it definitely complicates it. Okay, second theory. This one comes from a researcher named David Lewis Williams, and it's honestly one of the wilder ideas in archaeology. His theory is based on how the paintings are placed. Remember that painting I mentioned at the start? A kilometer deep in total darkness? That's not a one-off. A lot of the most impressive art is in the hardest to reach, most disorienting parts of these caves. Total sensory deprivation. No light, no sound, nothing. Lewis Williams pointed out that when the human brain is in that kind of environment, pitch dark, cut off from all normal senses, it starts to hallucinate. Not because anyone's on drugs, it's just what brains do when they're deprived of stimulation. You start to see shapes, patterns, dots, spirals, tunnels of light. And when you look at some cave art, you actually do see those exact patterns mixed in with the animals. Dots, grids, zigzags. His theory is that these caves weren't galleries. They were something closer to temples. Places where certain people, maybe early shamans, would go into these altered mental states and paint what they experienced. The cave itself might have represented a boundary between our world and a spirit world. Is it provable? No, not really. You can't interview a guy from 17,000 years ago. But it's taken seriously because it actually explains why the art is placed where it is, in the hardest, weirdest, most inconvenient spots possible.
Here's a simpler idea that's gotten more attention recently.
What if it wasn't magic or religion at all? What if it was just information? Think about it like this. Before writing existed, how do you pass down knowledge? How do you tell your kid, this is what a healthy bison looks like versus a sick one, or this is the migration path they take in autumn? You draw it. Some researchers have found what look like early counting systems next to the animals, little dots and lines that might track lunar cycles, basically tracking when certain animals show up during the year. If that's true, this wasn't just art. It was a calendar, a survival manual painted on stone. And honestly, that fits with something we know about humans in general. We've always been obsessed with recording information before we even had writing. These paintings might be the ancestor of that instinct, the great-great-great-grandparent of your notes app. And then there's the theory that gets ignored the most because it's the least mysterious one. Maybe some of it was just art, as in self-expression, as in Somebody was proud of what they made and wanted to make something beautiful. We tend to assume ancient people only did things for survival. But we're the same species, same brain. If you gave a modern person a blank wall and a torch, some of them would absolutely just doodle because it feels good. There's no reason to assume that instinct is new. Honestly, probably all of them, depending on the cave, the region, and the century. Because remember, these paintings span like 20,000 years. That's longer than the entire span of recorded human history. The people who painted the earliest Chauvet art and the people who painted the latest Lascaux art were as distant from each other in time as we are from, honestly, further back than agriculture even existed for most of that gap. So it's less like cavemen had one belief and more like thousands of generations of humans in different places, all separately deciding that walls were a good place to put something meaningful. What I think is actually the wildest part of this whole thing isn't the paintings themselves. It's that whoever made them was doing something completely unnecessary for survival. They didn't need to crawl a kilometer into a pitch-black cave to eat that day. They did it anyway. And maybe that's the actual answer to why cavemen painted on walls. Not hunting magic, not religion, not record-keeping. Just the fact that somewhere, 30,000 years ago, a human looked at a blank wall and felt like it needed something on it. And that urge never really left us. If you like this, subscribe. I break down stuff like this every week.